fuel duty?
Today I can announce that we'll be extending the freeze on fuel duty all the way through until the end of the year. Given what's happening in the Middle East, it is important that we now provide certainty. This war is not a war that we started, it's not a war that we joined, but it is having an impact on people here in the UK. And despite the decline in inflation that we've seen in the numbers that have just come out, I obviously recognise the challenges that families and businesses are facing, and so we're keeping that freeze in place until the end of this year. This is not a war that we started, it's not a war that we entered, and it is a war that we are trying to de-escalate, because that is the best way to get prices down for consumers. But obviously we'll continue to keep a close eye on what is happening to petrol prices, to gas prices through the duration of this conflict. But what I can announce today is that fuel duty freeze will continue until the end of the year. The plans that I inherited when I became Chancellor would have seen that fuel duty rise almost straight away. That wasn't the right decision, and what is happening in the Middle East today means it is important that we keep that freeze in fuel duty until the end of the year. Well, the numbers today for inflation show that inflation fell in April to 2.8%. That was a bigger fall than economists had been expecting, but it reflects the measures that I took last year in my budget. £150 off of people's energy bills, freezing prescription charges for the second year in a row, freezing rail fares for the first time in 30 years. And because of the actions that I took, we're one of the few countries in the world that is seeing 2 months after the escalation of violence in the Middle East, inflation actually coming down. And the measures that I'm taking today add to what I did in the budget last year to try and keep prices down for families and also for businesses. Well, because of the actions that I took last November in my budget, we saw in April the fuel bills for people in their homes come down by £150 because of the actions that I have taken, and because of the growth that we're seeing in our economy, the fastest growing economy in the G7 in the first quarter of this year. We're also able to take measures like ensuring that we can keep prescription charges frozen, keep rail fares frozen. All of that puts money back in people's pockets. I recognise that these are challenging times for families, for businesses and pensioners. And as Chancellor, the measures that I've taken, whether it's money off energy bills or today's commitment to freeze fuel duty until the end of the year, is all about helping families, businesses and pensioners with the cost of living.
Do you worry that...
Do you want to do this HGVs thing? Because I don't think we got that answer before.
Okay. The pushing back on sanctions with Russia and the cost of diesel and jet fuel, do you think Putin will welcome?
We've introduced today some of the toughest measures and the toughest sanctions that Russia has ever seen, and tougher than pretty much any country around the world. Today we've introduced new sanctions, but as a segue to those new sanctions, there are a couple of specific licences that we are enabling to continue. That is normal practice. That's what the Conservatives did when they introduced sanctions. Is we welcomed it when they did it because it is the right approach. But be in no doubt, the sanctions that we have increased today are the toughest sanctions that any government in this country has ever put on Russia.
The HGV?
Sure, that's what... Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In addition to the freeze in fuel duty to the end of the year, we're also putting in additional help for HGV drivers, for farmers and also for rail transport. It's important that we do those things because we know that the cost of diesel and red diesel have increased especially, and we recognise that farmers and haulage businesses are intense users of diesel, and so it's important that we're putting extra support for them as well. Okay? Great. All right. Thank you very much.